Welcome back to another former player interview on Red Tinted Glasses, and today we are delighted to be joined by former Youth Academy graduate Cammy Smith. Cammy is currently with Indy 11 over in America, and he joined us for a quick chat before training.
And if you enjoy this quick chat with Cammy, make sure to subscribe if you're watching on YouTube with notifications on so you don't miss out on any more similar content in future. Leave a like on the video too, but follow us wherever you're tuning in if you're listening in the audio version as well. First of all, Cammy, thanks very much for taking time out of your day before training to talk to us about your time at Aberdeen. We'll go back to the very, very start. How old were you when you signed for Aberdeen? Obviously, you came through the youth system, and sort of, was there any other interest around that time around you?
I must have been about 8 or 9 maybe. I was playing for Dice Boys Club. I think I was only really there a year or two maybe. And I got scouted and I got asked to go down. And I think the first time I got asked to go down by Chip McClellan, I said no, I didn't want to go to Altons at Seaton. I was just happy playing boys club football with my friends and stuff like that. And then obviously when he came back and asked again, I said yeah, I'd go back, and I must have really enjoyed it. I can't really remember, to be honest, much about it. I was really young, but Chick was the one that took him into Aberdeen, and he was very good. And I think Colin Grant at the time, he was working for Rangers actually, and he was kind of scouting the boys up in the northeast area for Rangers, and he tried to get me to go along to Rangers and stuff like that, but it was never really going to be an option, to be honest.
Not like your neighbour then.
No.
I suppose around that time it's all just about you were just a kid wanting to play football, really, weren't you?
Yeah. I mean, you never take it serious at all. Like, you're just playing for because it's what you love doing, and it was never, I always wanted to be a footballer. But you were just doing it because you just wanted to play football, and you never even knew about anything else that came with it. You just knew that you played in front of lots of people, and that's all you really ever wanted to do. But no, it was good going into Aberdeen. It was obviously a lot different from only at Dice. It was only one night a week, Wednesday night behind the ASDAT Dice training, and then even at a young age at Aberdeen, I went to training Tuesday, Thursday, Friday at 9 years old, and 3-4 nights a week. And then the first year we only played boys clubs within the city in the Shire, so we were playing like your Dice and Albion and stuff like that, and then it was under 9s maybe, and then when we went to under 10s we went to 7-a-side playing Celtic, Rangers, Hibs, Hearts, all that, and that's when you first start you're properly in the youth setup, kind of probably, I guess, going down to Glasgow and stuff like that and playing other teams.
What was it like being involved in the youth academy? Obviously, Neil Simpson as a coach said Chip McClellan got you involved, but you came through with some good players. Your Jamie Massons, Fraser Fivey's, Jack Grimmer, who's been on the podcast as well. They'll have all been in and around the youth academy. What was that like for you as a youngster?
Yeah, well, they're all actually older than me, but from when I actually went in, so my age group playing now at Danny Mullen's at Dundee. He was in my youth team, and then obviously Michael Rose, who I'm obviously mates with away from football as well. He was in, and then he was out, and then he was back, and he's obviously down in Coventry, boys like Scott McKenna. There was a lot through the whole youth system round about our age group, but that was actually my age group. But it was good to have even when I was under 12s maybe or 13s, it was good to have boys like Jack, who was only a year older than me. Kind of, I seen he was maybe playing under 14s, but maybe getting to play with the 15s. Fraser Fivey, he was 2 years older, and I seen he was maybe under 15s, but he was going in with the 19s training full time. So it was good to kind of have that kind of only just a few years away from you to see that's what you could do. And it was at that age, it was a bit of arrogance, but I was just kind of confident that I was just I'll be doing that in a few years, and it was kind of like that when I got to to the full-time team, like into full-time, actually, it was like, I just want to be in the first team, training with the first team. Like, the 19s was good and stuff like that, but I wanted first team as soon as I could. But no, through the youth, it was good to always have that boys, just a few years older than you, seeing them even go away with the Scotland teams and stuff like that. And, and like Ryan Fraser was another one. Just to see, but Risey he was never really getting pushed on. He was always just playing amongst his own age groups and never really with the Scotland teams. It was more like Jack and Fraser. And Ryan Jack was again then maybe 3 or 4. Clark Robertson was another one who wasn't really getting pushed. But when they obviously went into full-time football, then they kicked on. And
I think, like, you said like some of these players were playing a couple of years above. Was that something that was encouraged to the likes of yourselves, or was it just because of down to the ability of the player?
No, I think they were good for that. Obviously, Neil Simpson, like on a Saturday or Sunday, whatever it was, the 13s and 14s would play pitch by pitch next to each other. So both teams would be playing, for example, Dundee United, the bottom fields in Balgownie. And a lot of the time, you'd start off maybe playing for the under 13s and then you'd end up finishing the game for the under 14s if you were doing well.
Yeah, okay.
So they did progression. It got to a stage with quite a few players that you stopped playing your own age group and you played up a year. And then obviously they'd assess you from there. But and even during the week, you'd stop training with your own age and you'd be up training with the older ones. And it was good. And I was always lucky enough to be the one that kind of got put up, and it was good to test yourself. But I love playing my own age group as well because you probably felt more important even at that age, and because obviously like Aberdeen meant a lot to me. It was still, even at that young age, we were all desperate to beat the other SPL teams. So there was competitiveness from a young age as well, and the coaches do install that in you as well.
No, that's good to hear. And you said you wanted to be involved in and around the first team. Craig Brown was manager when you did kind of become involved in the first team, and he wanted to give you your debut just aged 15, but obviously the rules didn't allow you to wait till you were 16. How good a coach was Craig Brown for you and help you develop at that young age?
Craig Brown was just the nicest guy in football you'll ever meet. He was just he didn't, to be honest, very rarely he took training because he was obviously a lot older and he was coming to the end of his career and that. And I actually was in full time to start with when they first got the job. When him and Archie came in, I was just in my last year at school, just getting ready to leave to go into full time. I knew I'd signed my contract and I knew I was going in. And when I went in that, no, they were really good. I did pre-season with the 19s. I went away with the 19s, and then after pre-season I had a good pre-season, like my first one, and then I think it was the second game of the season, I'm sure it was St Johnstone at home or somebody like that, and we were on the Friday. Neil Cooper used to go around and if there was any of the young lads in the squad or whatever, tell you, and he told me like, you're in the squad. So at that point I thought, well, I'm in, but then I got told later on that day like I wasn't allowed to be in the squad because of my age. So but no, Craig was really good, like really looked after his players and treated them properly, like everybody was on the same level kind of thing. Nobody got better treatment or anything like that. And Archie did most of the training, and his training was very good. I liked him as a young boy. He taught us like very good things, and things that you probably take with you the rest of your career. He'd worked with he used to tell us stories about Cantona and Giggs and Scholes and Beckham and all that. And you're only 15 at the time, so you were still you couldn't believe he was telling you these stories about these players. And but Archie was really good as well.
And did it ever go to your head when Craig Brown compared you to Dennis Bergkamp?
I don't really know why he did that, to be honest. I mean, that was just Craig Brown. I mean, looking back, I probably wish I never got as much attention from a young age as I did, because obviously I'm still in football now and I'm still only 25, but I think like looking at like the Aberdeen boys now, like the young lads, like always obviously keeping close eye on Aberdeen and watch them and stuff like that. But it's the ones that get the most attention, and that it's hard because especially if you're from the area and stuff like that, like if you're out and about with your mates or like 16 even 17 18, like you think you're older than you are, but you're actually still just so young and still learning and stuff, but you don't really get the chance to learn quietly, if you get me. Because you're kind of out there, and then if there's, you know what Aberdeen's like, it's not the biggest city, so like there's always that thing happening, and then like in the paper if there was ever anything. So I think Craig said that it was nice at the time, and you think at the time else was brilliant, but looking back a bit more experience now, it's like I wouldn't say it's probably the best thing on a young player. I think that it's better for them just to work quietly away in the background.
Yeah, it's a bit like unnecessary pressure, I suppose. But he still managed to give you your first team debut later on in that season. You came on in the second half away at Inverness. Were you nervous making your debut? Because from my memory of trips to Inverness, they're always a boisterous trip, so you'd have come in front of a very loud away support.
Yeah, I remember the week before where the first team, again, I'd been in squads. I remember I was in squad around about Christmas time at home to Hearts. There was 19 in the squad, but you were only allowed to name 18 to get stripped, and I was the spare man, so I never got stripped. But I knew around about Christmas time I was getting close to like getting in, and I just wanted to get in there. And I remember the week before, we actually had Hibs at Hampden in the semi-final when Rory Fallon scored that goal. And we had to go and watch, and I remember sitting there watching thinking like how bad are we, like we were terrible that day. And like I just remember sitting there thinking, and it wasn't like cockiness, but I remember sitting there thinking to myself, like I could easily play in that team and like make a difference or play in that team or whatever. And it probably helped me that we got beat, because then we had nothing to play for the last 5 games. We were in the bottom 6. And the first game of the split was Inverness away, and obviously I went up. But I remember like warming up behind the goals and just getting the shout back and the jog back from like behind the goals up to the touchline. I was like, I'm waiting to make my first team debut for Aberdeen. And I think it was just like, it was like adrenaline kind of thing. It wasn't like nerves or anything. And then we ended up winning 2-0. It was a nothing game, but I made my debut, and then again I came on the Wednesday night at home to Hibs, and I made my home debut. So, no, it was good and good memories.
By all accounts, you impressed against Calum. You just mentioned it there, the game against Hibs, made your home debut. What was that like playing at Pittodrie? Obviously, growing up in the area, Aberdeen fan, must be a bit mental for you. Yeah,
again, I can't really remember. I mean, it was about 10 years ago now, wasn't it? So, but probably, again, I remember standing waiting to go on and thinking like, no, this is the first time I've played at Pittodrie before for the youth team and that, and youth cups, and that was good and stuff like that, but playing for the first team in front of like a crowd, I mean, it wasn't a big crowd because again it was a nothing game and stuff like that, but it was still, to say I'd play for Aberdeen at Pittodrie, it was good, and it's something I'll always appreciate, because not many, like so many people would love to do that, and to be able to have played for Aberdeen at Pittodrie, it's good.
Yeah, and in the 2012-13 season, you went on to make 21 appearances throughout the season. Did you feel you were maybe going to get more opportunities, or were you quite happy with the game time that you received that season?
Was that still under Craig and Archie?
It was, yeah. Derek took over after the split, I think it was.
After the split. I can't really remember that season because they kind of all feel like they've just moulded into one. But no, I probably wasn't frustrated. No, I just, again, I think the first team I went away to Germany for pre-season, and it was between me and Risey that were going to go, and I think Risey got the shout,
got the nod
to go, and I had to stay with the 19. So that kind of like put me down a little bit. But once you were back in the 19s and that, we had a good team and we had good players in that. So I just got back like training away and that. And then obviously if I made 21 appearances, I knew I think I was probably only 16 at the time, turning 17. So I knew I was so young, but I was probably impatient, and I was impatient at the time. And what season was that? That
was the 12-13 one.
Might have. Don't know if we did make top 6, but you scored. That was the season you scored your first
was
goal.
That last season I scored first goal?
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. Well, I remember then coming.
So that was going to be the next question. Was what was it like scoring that header? Because that was to get a 1-1 draw.
Yeah.
Inverness again.
Yeah, and that was the season. Yeah, no, that was the season I probably first thought I started playing for Aberdeen, because the year I made the season before when I made my debut and stuff, it was bottom 6 and nobody cared. There was nobody even there at the games really. So no, when I remember coming on at Inverness, and like you say, the stand behind the goal was full, and we were getting beat 1-0, and there wasn't much happening in the game, and I didn't even know if I expected to come on or whatever. I think the week before, it was the week before, or was it the week after, I came on against St Mirren at home, and we
hit the bar.
And I hit the bar with a header. I think it was the week before, so I knew then I've got a chance of maybe coming on again. And then when he threw me on against Inverness, I can't really remember much about the game, to be honest. I just remember scoring, and it was probably the best feeling I've had in one of the best feelings I've had in football. Behind the Aberdeen fans behind the goal, it was so good because the goal meant something, and there was only 5 minutes to go, and it was and all the first team players, we had a lot of senior players at the time, probably too much. There was no real youth or anything in the team, and they were all really good with me. After the game, and Archie, I remember Archie after the game saying he had a go at a lot of the players, and he said to me the youngest boy in the changing rooms kind of dug you out a hole and kept the fans off your back or whatever. And then after that, I was probably training with the first team every day and that. And then I think towards the end of that season, I got moved through from the youth team changing room into the first team changing room. So then that was moved there.
Nice.
Did you have any friends or family there for that game to see your first goal?
No, my auntie was actually there, but not because I think she was up that way for the weekend. But my brother plays in the Highland League, so I think that weekend my dad went to watch him. I don't know what my mum was doing. I don't know if she went. But so that weekend, they must have not been expecting me to come on or whatever, because normally they were always there, away games and stuff like that. But for that game, they weren't. And I remember they came when we got back to Pittodrie, Mum and Dad came and picked them up from the bus when we got back, and I obviously proud and happy and stuff like that. But no, it was a good memory, and it was just normal though. If a 17-year-old was playing for the first team regularly now, I'd think that's a big thing and stuff like that. But I just thought it was normal, and I was just living in a bubble kind of thing that I didn't really think much of it. But it was obviously a very good thing to do.
Yeah, at the time you're probably just thinking it's totally normal and getting a bit carried away with it. But then towards the end of that season, Derek McInnes did come in, end of the 2012-2013 season. How good a manager was he with you, and do you feel like you got a fair chance under him?
He was a good manager, and I had a good relationship with Derek McInnes. I actually quite liked him, and I didn't play every week under him. Obviously, I was still a young lad in that, but that's when I think a manager's quite good, and he's got your respect of the ones that don't play. Still speak highly of him, and that he was good at he just kind of came in, and Craig and Archie kind of steadied the ship from I wasn't in full time before, but I'd been watching them and how bad they were under Mark McGee and stuff like that. So Craig and Archie came in and kind of steadied it, and then Derek McInnes came in, and he just I can't really remember much of his first 5 games before this season finished in the split, but when we came back pre-season and he made good signings, and he just totally like Stephen Hughes moved on, Gavin Ray, a lot of the older players who had their careers, who were good professionals, and that he moved all them on, and he brought in I think he brought in 4 or 5 players that window, but Willow came in,
Yeah.
Barry obviously came in and stuff, and they just kind of like put the club in a different direction. And then we went away for pre-season to Warwick, and it was so hard, like one of the hardest pre-seasons I've done. And the professionalism around about the place, like everything just kind of went up a bit. And I was through with the change, like I was through getting changed with the first team in this by this point. So I was probably about 17, turning 18. And that's when I really, when it really started getting involved more. But about playing more, I mean, I made a lot of appearances in that over the years, but I never really got a run where I was like there was one time I scored the winner at Kilmarnock and I played well, and the next week I got dropped. And he put him in and he said to me, he had Tony Dockett in the room and he just said to me, we needed experience that day because it was Dundee United at home or whatever. And that was the kind of way he worked. Like, I know Scott McKenna played week in, week out for him, but and there were obviously as one or two, but a lot of the time, it was you came out if that was even was scoring the winner. But I had no really complaints with him that way. I just wish I maybe wish I kind of went on. There was once I was meant to actually go to St Johnstone on loan, the last day of the window, and Tansy was meant to be coming to Aberdeen, and because Tansy the deal never got done, then Derek McInnes phoned me at like 5 to 12, and he just says, I'm not letting you go. I'll give you more playing. I promise you, I'll give you more game time. In the next game, I think he put me on for about 4 minutes. So
I was going to ask that actually. It's something that we've kind of debated on the podcast with young players like Conor McLennan maybe coming on for like bit part appearances. Is it difficult as a young player, maybe even like a homegrown player, only getting that 5-10 minutes to kind of be seen to make an impact?
Yeah, I mean, to start with, your mindset's a bit like, right, I've got 10 minutes I need to do anything I can in this 10 minutes to make an impression. Like when you first start getting involved with the first team, because you think, right, this is what I'm getting just now, this is what I've got to do. But see a season or 2 seasons down the line and it's still like that, I mean, it becomes a bit like there's only so much I can do within 5-10 minutes of the game. And I know with Scott, it was probably like that as well. Probably thinking like for year after year, like I was doing well, I was impressing, and maybe 10 minutes here, 20 minutes there. Like to start with, like you say, like everybody starts off somewhere, and to start with, that's kind of the way you kind of have to break yourself in. But you need a run, and I think it's unless you're an impact player, it's going to be hard for you to really show what you can do in that space of time. But again, like I was just like I always put the Aberdeen first before myself, and that was probably like looking back, I probably should have just been a bit more like upspoken or whatever and stuff like that. I put myself first because I always just thought, like I kind of thought like, as a fan sometimes I was like, we're one. Like we're one, that's all that kind of matters. And I think that's from supporting the team from a young age. Like I think you kind of have that way, whereas if you don't have any loyalty towards the club, you kind of do become a bit more selfish and you put yourself first.
Yeah.
So
I'm conscious of obviously the time that you've given up before your training today, so I want to get on to the cup run, which obviously you were part of the cup winning squad. Started with us sneaking past Alloa on penalties, which was a rather nervy night. Your first involvement in that cup run came at Falkirk with Vernon Crespo getting a hat-trick, but you also found yourself on the score sheet that night. That was probably one of the best performances of that cup run that night in Falkirk. Yeah,
I hammered them that night. We had a lot of injuries that night. There was a good 4 or 5 players that would have probably been playing out. I think Niall never played, and can't remember, but I remember our midfield was like Ryan Jack, Nicky Lowe, Peter Pollitt, me, Johnny. I think Johnny played fullback. Clark Robertson played. Like had a really young team. And I remember the game was on TV and stuff like that, and then McInnes was saying, like there's a reason they've put this on TV because they think we're going to slip up and everybody's got to be watching that. And I think I got the impression he was a bit wary of it as well. And we went out and hammered them. The surface suited us because it was the midfield was all the young players that came through the academy, so we could all play football. And we hammered them 5-0. Joe Shaughnessy played as well, that's right. So yeah, we hammered him that night, and then the next day we actually went to Perth races. We had that. He gave us, so like we all went to Perth races for the day, and that, so it was good.
That's good. And then we made it into the quarterfinal. And for me, as a fan, that was kind of the first time I thought, oh, this could actually be our year, in kind of the manner of the victory. Joe getting himself sent off early on and kind of backs against the wall and coming out 2-0. Were you involved in the squad at all, or were you in the crowd as a fan that night?
I was in the squad, but there was only 5 subs in the cup. So I was spare man.
So did you have to sit in with the first team, or could you get in the away end?
So I sat right down in the corner. I think it was me and Nicky Lowe. I can't remember. We were in the away end, but it was like right down in the corner. We had to sit with like whoever was from Aberdeen. But no, that night was like, that was a big win. I think after that, everybody started realising like we've got a right good chance here, because Motherwell were good at the time, and. But we were having a good season, because that was McInnes' first year, and we were flying, and everybody was playing well. But that night it was tough. But there was obviously a big support down from Aberdeen, and but obviously beat them 2-1 in the end, wasn't it?
It's 2-0. But 2-0. There was a story, and I don't know if it's true, I don't know if you can confirm or deny, that on the way back up the road, I think you normally stopped in Auchterarder, and Joe Shaughnessy had to buy the whole squad fish and chips. Is that true?
Yeah, for that night, obviously we didn't normally do that, but for that game, we had to do it. Joe had to do it, because he got sent off so carelessly in the first half. That was his fine, pretty much. Just bought the whole team a chipper, coming up the road, and then it was forgotten about. But no, it was a good game, that, and it obviously went on to be a big one.
The semi-final that year at Tynecastle, played against St Johnstone, obviously completely blew them out of the water. We were amazing that day. But one thing that sticks out in my mind is the atmosphere. Do you remember much about that game at all?
Yeah, the atmosphere as well. And so many people say that, like all my mates and that were at the game, and everybody says that day was one of the best atmospheres they've been involved in, and it was good. I mean, because Tynecastle was always good atmosphere, and because we had 3 stands, was it? Yeah. And they only had the stand behind the goal. It was loud, and because we started so well and we scored and that, it was loud, and obviously everybody was excited because we knew we were going to a final, and that the place was bouncing, and back up the road, and everybody was obviously out that night and stuff like that. It was good. But again, like, we had such a good team that like everybody was like kind of playing their best. Like Peter, that's the best Peter's ever been. Johnny and Niall were flying. And then obviously we signed Adam in the January, and he just started scoring. He just started scoring for fun. So like we had a good team, and then we had like experience with Barry and Willow and Brian Jack. And then we had some like obviously young players that could come in and bring some energy to it and stuff like that. So he did. I still think that was one of his best teams. I mean, he's obviously had better players down the line, like Kenny and stuff like that. He moved on to play in the English Premiership, but as a team and like everything he had. His first team, like, and for the team spirit and that, like, it wasn't a big squad. He only went with 18 or 19, and like everybody was really close, and he got the mix like really good. His first 2-3 years, I think his squads were really good, and then obviously towards the end, a lot of loan players and that come in, which makes it more difficult. But that first team changing room was really good. Nicky Weaver as well. He was a great lad, and like. Just for the change room, he obviously never played, but he was really important, like around the place and stuff like that. So that was a good change room to be part of.
Yeah, I remember that squad and that sort of season just so fondly. It was my first season going to away games. It was just totally mental. Obviously, it was the first time we were actually good in years, and I was just loving it, absolutely loving it. But then went on, obviously, the final. Do you remember much about the build-up of that? Obviously, your first as a player in the first team. Not only is the build-up, though, as a player, but as a fan as well. Obviously, there's just a buzz about the city the whole time.
Yeah, the week before, we played Dumbarton in the quarter-final of the Scottish Cup and won 1-0, and I played the whole game, and I played well. And I remember thinking, like, I've got a chance now, because it was obviously 5 subs for the bench. I knew I wasn't going to start. But I thought, like, even if I want to be on the bench, it's going to be hard to get on the bench. But I was desperate to be involved. Like, I didn't even care if I didn't play. I just wanted to be on the bench. And we went to the build-up. We went to St Andrews. We played in Barton on Saturday, and on the Sunday night we went to St Andrews from like Sunday to Wednesday or Sunday to Thursday. We trained and we stayed down there for a few nights. I think he just wanted to take us away from the city, to get away from the way, like, the build-up and stuff like that. And then we came down to Glasgow before the game on the Saturday, because the game was a Sunday. And I can't even remember who I shared a room with, to be honest. But the morning of the game, I remember we were going down for breakfast and stuff like that, and then I remember seeing Scott Vernon walking past me, and he was like, just had a phone call from the manager's office, the manager's room. I need to go up to his actual bedroom. And I was thinking, well, so it's like Scotty Vernon came back and he texted me just saying, oh, like, he just told me I was on the bench. Like, he phoned me to tell me to go up and speak to me. And so he went up, and then there was 1 or 2 others went up, and I hadn't heard anything. So I was thinking, well, he's obviously doing the ones who are on the bench first, and then he'll tell the ones who aren't on the bench last. And then my, like, hotel room number, I got a call, and it was him. He just said, oh, can you come up to my room? Told me his room number. So I walked up. The whole way up, I was getting a bit, like, not upset, but I was like, oh, like, I can't believe I'm not going to be involved and stuff like that. And then as soon as I went in, he just said, oh, like, just let you know, like, you're going to have a big part to play today, and you'll end up coming on. Not like, so he just said, be ready. Okay, and then that was it, kind of thing. And we had, like, we had club suits on, and like we had like the flower on the thing, so it proper felt like a good occasion. And then when you drove up to Parkhead, and there were so many Aberdeen fans there, like, you knew it was something different. And on the way to the game, on the, like, the TVs on the bus, there was like they created like a video for us to watch of, like, the build up through the season, and like just clips throughout the whole season on and off the pitch, just to kind of get everybody going. So it was really good, to be honest. And then obviously the game was terrible, but
it mattered in the end.
I guess though, when he says be ready to come on, you're not expecting to come on so early.
Yeah, I know. Well, it was 75 seconds in. Obviously, like, it was literally, well, I think it actually happened like 14 seconds or something into the game. When you watch the game back. And when Johnny falls down, like, obviously a few of us go out to warm up, and I was thinking, like, you'll put Scotty, like, it was me, Scott Vernon, Nicky Lowe, Nicky Weaver, and Alan Tate, I think, was on the bench. And I was thinking, like, you'll put like Scott Vernon on, and like, he'll shuff it about or something like that. And then when they shouted me back up, I was like running back up the touchline that day. I was like, wow, like, I couldn't believe it. I did think, because there was like 45,000 fans there, obviously from Aberdeen, and it was a cup final. And I wasn't a regular at the time. I'd played a lot of games by this point, like here and there, but I was a regular. So it was a bit like surreal. And then I went on and played, but the game was rubbish. And then obviously I came back, like, so I came on after, like, I think it was a minute and a half. And I would have been better coming on, like, Nicky Lowe came on with like 20 minutes to go. And you would have been better doing that. Because like, he came on, played 20, like, and then he played the extra time. Was on for the penalties and stuff like that. And I pretty much obviously, like, was on after 2 minutes. So coming on, like, it was tough because you hadn't really prepared to come on that early, obviously, and then just get going and then get swing of things. But I ended up winning, and I just wanted to win, because if I won, nobody would have cared about anything.
No, and I don't think anyone did care how terrible the game was, because we did win.
Yeah, exactly. That was the whole thing. That was always like kind of the mindset of everyone. It was just like, well, it still is this. Like, nobody cares when it comes to cup finals. If your team wins, your team wins.
Yeah.
Were you a wee bit disappointed the fact that it was you went on first and Nicky Lowe got to stay on for the extra time and penalties, or just not caring at the time?
The thing is, I kind of half expected, because I was going on after like a minute, 2 minutes, and I was the 18-year-old on the pitch. he was never going to take Niall off because Johnny was already injured. Peter was injured at the time with his groin. Willow, Barry and Ryan Jack were never going to come off because he needed all them kind of players on the pitch. So he was never going to have me and Nicky. So like, I mean, I didn't want to come off, but because I came on so early, and it was nerve-wracking, obviously. You didn't want to make that mistake or anything. I mean, everybody was like that. Like, the senior players weren't really... Because there was so much pressure on Aberdeen to win that game, because we hadn't won a cup in so long, I think we felt the pressure more than Inverness, obviously. And we didn't want to... Nobody wanted to be that player to make the mistake or whatever like that. And being a young boy, like, on the pitch and that, I definitely didn't want to. So, I mean, now I'd have a totally different approach to it, obviously, because I'm more experienced and I know how to go about it better. But at the time, it was just like, I was probably like, I would have been better coming on with half an hour to go or something like that, rather than pretty much starting the game at that time. And then we won, so, and the celebrations and all that were good, so nobody didn't really care, didn't they?
Were you confident when it went to penalties? Could you watch being on the sideline or?
Yeah, I watched fine. I can't remember if I was confident or not. I mean, you obviously every time a player walks up, you're like, oh, he's going to miss. Like you say that for everybody.
Yeah.
The only person, like Barry Robson, obviously was so good at penalties, but I just thought Barry would end up doing something daft, like smashing over the bar, like just try to absolutely leather it in the top corner. But nah, the penalties were good, and obviously Langers and goals saved a few. So I wasn't really sure, to be honest, but we probably deserved it. A bit of luck in the end, and we got there.
Obviously, thank God we did win the League Cup that year. That must have been totally crazy. For you, especially being an Aberdeen fan, 18 years old as well. What was that like, lifting the trophy and the celebrations afterwards? I think as well your brother came over from America as well at the time. I remember hearing about that around the time. Yeah,
my brother, obviously, he was actually out here doing like a football college thing for 18 months, and he was pretty much like, I need to come home to see it, obviously. So he flew home on like the Friday to the Monday or something for the game and stuff like that, or the Tuesday or whatever. So he came home for it. He was, and then obviously he was back 6 months or something after anyway for good. But it was good to have him there. And then my grandpa and my mum and my dad and like all that were in like. And I think my dad's never nervous watching any of my games, but I remember him saying that was the one game he was like sitting there on the edge of the seat nervous because it was such a big occasion. He just thought, don't do anything like that's going to muck this up. Normally he kind of want me to be a bit more like probably taking risks or whatever, but that day was just like just get through it kind of thing and make sure hopefully we'll win. But no, the celebrations were unbelievable. Like that was a good thing. Like you don't sometimes like you remember all the memories and like the laughs and all that, and like after the game the changing room was unreal. Like there was just drink everywhere in the changing room, and then the bus back up we had no drink for the bus, and like because I think he didn't want to like jinx it, so nobody was prepared, so we had to stop off at like a Tesco, and I can't remember which one it was, but we were just it must have been like half an hour outside Glasgow or whatever, but the traffic coming back up the road, it took us like 5-6 hours to get back up. It was mad, but it went so quick, and there was like karaoke on the bus and stuff like that, and everybody was taking a turn going up and singing. But in that Tesco, I remember like the young lad, like Barry Robson had a trolley, and the young boys were just going around lobbing everything in it, like just so much drink. It was mad, and then Barry ended up paying it for us all because I think it came to like £700 or something worth of drink. It was mental, and Barry just paid it all. And then we were on the bus. Everybody was just obviously drinking, and we went back to the Marcliffe, I think it was, and there was a club function there with families and that all waiting for us. And then like a lot of the older players stayed the night in that, but most of the young lads like lasted about an hour or two, and then we're straight into town.
Yeah, there's a good photo, I'm sure, of Joe and Nicky on part of like a human pyramid outside the back of Seoul. I remember that. It was just just absolute chaos that night. I've never seen so much scenes like that in Aberdeen for a night out.
I know. No, I remember the photos of Joe and Nicky, and it was good. And like everybody was obviously in such a good mood, and like everybody was out, no matter if they were really a football fan or not. It was such a good night, and obviously it's stuff that you can't really relive, but it's good to always have the stories and the memories and thing about football.
And just one last thing, like I said, it was obviously nice of you to give us up time before you've got training this morning. In that 14-15 season, we finished 8 points behind Celtic, and then the next season we finished a few more behind them than expected. But a lot of people always think that the 15-16 season was probably the best chance to win the league that season. Were you as a squad confident in that 14-15 and 15-16 season?
I think there was a point where we were really close, but
because you actually scored in the January. I don't know if you remember it. We were at home to St Johnstone, and you scored in the last minute to put us 2-0 up. Richard Donald then, and I was watching the video back today, and the noise when the ball hits the back of the net.
A lot of people actually said to me that's one of the best like Pittodrie's been in a while.
I mean, I was spewing probably outside Pittodrie about 5-3. Still made it in time, but
yeah, no, it was because it was a big crowd because it was New Year's Day game.
Yeah.
The big crowds and stuff like that, and the team was going well. And I remember it was me and Lawrence were just kind of racing to get to the ball. With my halfway, I think I beat Lawrence. And
it was the one time Adam Rooney wasn't selfish.
Yeah, no, Adam cut across the goal, but yeah, no, I remember it was loud and it was good. And that feeling, like scoring at Pittodrie, was a really, really good feeling. And at the time, I didn't think it was just like, but to put us, top of the league, it was like looking back now, it's mad. But my mates, obviously, all being fans and that, they were all like, after the game, I remember we went to one of my mates' houses and that, and they were like, all like, atmosphere and all that was brilliant and stuff like that. But we beat Celtic in the quarter-final at Parkhead, and Pete scored and Russell scored. And then we beat them again 4 days later at home in the league when Johnny scored that screamer.
Oh, yeah.
So we just beat them back twice, and that was a proper good Celtic team, like Van Dijk and all that were playing. And so we there was no reason why we couldn't believe. And I think it was like end of March, start of April. We played Motherwell away, and Celtic were playing Kilmarnock. Yeah, the early kick-off, and Celtic. I think if they didn't win and we won, it went like to 2 points or something. And Celtic ended up scoring like last minute. Yeah, Roger scored, and then it didn't deflate us, but it kind of like they kind of pulled away again. They just kept winning, and we were at Motherwell and we had went and got beat 2-1, I think it was. Yeah,
Barry came on, elbowed someone and went straight back off.
That was hilarious. He was literally on the pitch for like 10 seconds. It was so funny. Like McInnes was like to him, use your experience, on and just get us I think it was a draw at that point or whatever. And just, get on the ball and control the game, get us high up the pitch or whatever. And Barry was like bouncing about in the touchline. He was like, I'll do that. And then it was a goal kick time. He just smacked him in the face with an elbow, straight red. And then he was just back off past us. And he knew, obviously, thinking, what's he done here? But after that, it was tough. And then they obviously went away. But we were close. We were really close. But we should have, the year before, we should have won the double because we should have beat St Johnstone.
Yeah, we should have, yeah.
And that day, that's probably one of his biggest regrets. We didn't go and win the double that year because we were better than St Johnstone and United at the time.
Yeah.
When it came to leaving Aberdeen, how difficult was that for you? Obviously, sometimes a bit of obscurity whenever anyone comes to leaving a team, but let alone when it's your boyhood club.
Yeah, I think I probably, because I'd started playing involved so young, I was just like if I had made my debut at 18 or 19 or 20, which a lot of people do, I'd have probably still been there to 23, 24, even now maybe.
Yeah.
But because I made it so young, I was kind of 3-4 years ahead in time, and I was just I can't do this. But again, looking back, I look at young boys and see the ones that are coming through now, and they just sit there at big clubs until 23, 24, and then leave. And they've not even played 10 games. So I was like, looking back now, if I was to do it, I probably could have just stayed. I remember going in, because I went on loan to St Mirren for the second half season, and I actually really enjoyed it. Jack Ross was good with me, and we had a good team, and it was a good changing room, and I settled into the area really well. And he was desperate to get me back for the following season. And he was like, listen, you'll play every week. And we just stayed up in the last day of the season because they had a terrible team the year before, and we just stayed up at Easter Road on the last day. And we drew 1-1. And then he was like, and we drew up, and then we went away to Magaluf on like the Monday or something. Like, so I got to know them pretty well and settled in well. So like as close as that we went away, 5 or 6 of us went away to Magaluf. And then when I came back, I had like a week at home, and then I was going to Marbella with my own mates. And Derek McInnes phoned me, and he just said, come into Pittodrie tomorrow morning and we'll have a chat. I was out of contract at the end of the month. And I went in, and I wasn't actually fussed, because I enjoyed St Mirren that much, and because I knew I was going to be important for Jack Ross, and he was telling me like we'll go and win the league and all that. And McInnes went in, and Derek McInnes and Jack Ross actually get on really well. So when I sat and spoke to him, he kind of offered. He said to me, he offered my token gesture contract pretty much. He said to me like, you can stay here on another year's contract, but you can go on loan. But St Mirren aren't going to pay your full wage, and we don't want to pay this much when you're going on loan, so we need to cut you in that. And like it was a token gesture to stay. And I was like, what's the point in doing that? Might as well just cut ties. Sometimes you're better leaving your comfort zone. I was like, might as well just cut my ties and go and sign a deal with St Mirren and get back, try to get playing regular and see where I go from there. To start with, it was hard. Like walking out that day, I was like, it's probably the last time I'll be in as an Aberdeen player. And it was because it's all I knew and grew up in that. And to this day, I still support Aberdeen in that, but. It was good for me at the time, good for me going to St Mirren, and good for me to see how other things worked and stuff like that. And probably one of the best things I did, to be honest. But I could have probably just went on loan again. St Mirren signed a year and went on loan. Looking back, because that year we went and won the league and I had such a good season, Aberdeen then would have offered me a deal again, and then I've been on the books of Aberdeen for another 3-4 years. So. That's just the way football works. So, no, it was good. I enjoyed my time at Aberdeen. Lots of good players. Learned loads. Like my upbringing was so good. Like even when I see boys coming through now, when you have a go at them or you demand of them. Like I'm not that aggressive. Like I've played with some proper players that are on you all the time. And you say and you learn off of them. So you try say to one or two young boys you need standards here and there or whatever, and it's just because the only reason the way I think like that is because of the way I was brought up and around the senior players I was brought up from Aberdeen. So it was good. Yeah, well, no, it's been good to hear you kind of talk down memory lane of your time at Aberdeen, and you said hindsight's a wonderful thing, but you've gone on to have a decent career outside of Aberdeen, now making your way in America, and hopefully you have a successful season over there. So just want to say thanks for giving up your morning, and all the best for this season over in America. Cheers. Thanks, guys.
And there we have it. That was our interview with Cammy Smith on Red Tinted Glasses. Glen, that was very enjoyable. Did you enjoy that?
Yeah, it was good. It was nice of him to give up his time, like we said, before his training. So a brief chat, but informative enough, and nice to hear stories of the cup success and him coming through the ranks.
100%. And it sort of took me back to the time when I first started following Aberdeen, going away properly, and I was loving it. Absolutely. Nostalgia central. But thank you very much for tuning in, everybody. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, make sure to subscribe if you're watching on YouTube and notifications on so you don't miss out in future. Leave a like on the video, comment down below with your thoughts, and also follow us wherever you're listening in, and on Twitter at @RTG_podcast. Thank you very much.